Okay, so let's see. I have had a very interesting conversation with the Syrian High Council since we last met. And I've had a conversation with my really dear friend, Nalini, Mary McNabb. And I've had conversations with Elizabeth and our so-called One Mind group where we've looked into things. So there's a whole lot of information that has been building that I'd like to hand off to you. So where to start? I asked to have a conversation, you know, as we progress in our spirituality, we stop holding things separate. And so if you have guides, as I used to with the Syrian High Council, eventually, you know, you say, well, why am I holding myself separate from that? And you merge with it. But there are times when you say, I really need to have a conversation here. I really need to feel like we're separate and I'm talking to somebody to get some input. And that's what happened with the Syrians, the Syrian High Council, to be specific. So we all kind of kicked back. I was sitting in my recliner and I just had this funny feeling that everybody had their feet up. And let's go, okay, let's review. Where are we at? And they basically told me not to worry at all about the physical, just to completely let it go, that the physical was completely handled between now and the end of the year, specifically the winter solstice on the 21st of December, 2020. So don't worry about the physical. Physical is taken care of. Focus on your work. And your work is to, let me just think of how they put it originally, because I've seen so much since then that it's all embellished. Maybe it doesn't really matter. They said there are a lot of souls who are going to be transiting. And your job is going to be with other women to kind of open up a portal, and it will be a divine feminine portal. So in essence, as I look at it now, it's more of a birthing canal. And they also told me, and it was shocking, so I know I'm not making this stuff up when I hear it because it's not stuff that I would conceive of on my own. They said that all souls that will be born after the winter solstice of this year will have clean, completely rebooted DNA. And that it will take a while for the remnants to clear out. I once heard a friend of mine say it takes 7 generations for a big change to be implemented in a culture or in the world. And that just means generations have to die off until new souls are left holding the reins, so to speak. So let's talk a little bit about the divine feminine. Let's pose the question, what is or who is the divine feminine? Because when we talk about the divine feminine or the primordial mother, or however we label it, we're personifying it, right? I mean, what is the divine feminine? Is there really a big presence in the sky that we invoke as the divine feminine? No, it's an energetic in existence, and it's she who gives birth to things at the most basic level. I mean, there are all kinds of qualities that have been assigned to the feminine during the patriarchy. And those of you who work with me, we've done a lot of work to clear out that programming. So women are obedient, women are nurturing, women are second-class citizens, they're soft, they obey the masculine. Whatever it's been, we've looked at those qualities. And for me, I've said, oh, well, okay, second-class citizen, I understand that with the patriarchy, but those nurturing qualities, that's really what I would call lunar qualities. But the feminine has solar qualities as well, as do men. We all have what you could call masculine and feminine, but what I prefer to call solar and lunar, because the concept, the definition of masculine and feminine has been so corrupted during the patriarchy. So the feminine has solar qualities, which are being passionate and active and creative, everything we think of as the sun as opposed to the moon. And it's actually men who are far more nurturing in their true nature than women. But we've done well with nurturing and compassion and empathy and all of those softer qualities. It was good for us to bring those online. But really, if we go back to the way we looked at it in the Mother Divine series that I did at the end of last year, the divine feminine is, you could talk about it as, it outpictures as a rainbow of colors, the whole spectrum of colors. And each of us is part of one family or color. But within that, there are many hues, an infinitesimal number of hues, because every soul that is born is absolutely unique. And so every woman, every soul that is in female embodiment represents one infinitesimal hue of a color, right? And you may meet up with your soul group or your, someone that feels like family and go, oh, they're very, very similar. They're very close to me. And there's a resonance there. And there are other colors that are complementary, other colors that I don't understand at all, or that I judge or whatever, yeah. But we're just one hue. And so that's why I have strived in the past year or more to identify for each of you in this group, what is your vibratory essence? What is that hue? When you separated from Source, what did you take on? What qualities did you say, I want to learn about this. I want to become a representative of this. I want to hold this or vibrate with this. I want to be able to help other people to via this vibratory signature, right? So it's very, very specific and absolutely unique. And really, to my way of thinking at this point, after I've looked at this for 2 or 3 weeks, is each of us has an access point, and that's our vibratory signature. So for me, it's the beauty of existence, or the perfection, the way that all of the facets of the experiment in consciousness work together and reflect each other. And we can use that as an access point to become, to morph into the entirety of the divine feminine. We can also use female collaboration, right? We come together, we support each other. Anything that you admire in somebody else, you begin to bring into yourself. You begin to bring that online. So now we know, oh, all of these different qualities are present, different vibratory essences. And wow, look at that. Look at Nina, look at Olivia, look at Elizabeth. What? Wow, look at what they know, what they hold, how they resonate. I love that. And we begin to get the sense that if we truly support each other and we truly do our own work to reconcile whatever remains that's holding us separate from that vibratory essence. And I know for some of you, we haven't gotten there yet, and that's fine. I'm not suggesting it's important to get there. Things unfold with their own timing, and the timing is always exactly correct. So don't worry if we're not there yet. But we each use our own vibratory essence as an entry point to become it all. That's why the female collaboration, that's why the support groups. Yeah, so we have a number of little support groups. And what's happening is very, very interesting because they're like puzzle pieces that we are moving together as we approach the December solstice. So we have an Asian cultural conditioning group, which is really not as much about Asia as it is about cultural conditioning in general. So you're focused on that. You're focused on supporting each other, dismantle the cultural conditioning. Why? Because we're going to formlessness and all form is being called into question. So cultural conditioning for everyone is up for grabs. Any attachment that you may have to your cultural programming needs to be looked at. And so if they're off working on that, it benefits all of us, yeah? And we have our European group of women, right? Who are activating each other. That's what's happening. We are supporting and activating each other and cycling because of the work that we're doing together. So we have all of these puzzle pieces. One is not better than another. This is not about inclusion, exclusion. This is about remembering how to work together as women, really work together at a deep, deep level. How to work together to bring the divine feminine completely online on the December solstice, because that's what's going to happen. And she's going to form a birthing canal, and that birthing canal is going to be composed of all conscious women. There are many, many groups out there working. Doesn't matter if they're on a spiritual path or not. Women have been sitting in circle, remembering how to do this for a really long time. There are women who are conscious and they're holding light in the polarity of light and dark. And recently, with the increasing advent of 9D consciousness and non-judgment, I can see, oh my goodness, they've served this amazing purpose. They've held the dark at bay until those of us working on neutrality have moved into position on the game board. How beautiful is that, right? Thank you. Thank you for all of that work that you've been doing, holding light and therefore holding the dark at bay. So if we want, we can participate in this absolutely momentous event. There has never been an event like this on planet. And technically, on the planet. And technically what's happening is that the experiment in consciousness is ending. This experiment in consciousness that, has been seeded here, designed, engineered, implemented, done QA on, quality assurance, come in, checked on, hijacked, 2 cycles of time, the whole thing is ending. And why is it ending? Because it's been proven good. We have proven the experiment. I mean, I had to look this up because I'm not scientific, right? So I had to look up experiment, scientific experiment, and proof. And the proof happens at the end when the stated assumptions logically guarantee the conclusion or the outcome. And we've done it. As of the December solstice, we will have done that. We will have proven. It will become, as Elizabeth said the other day, a law of consciousness. That's why it's being rebooted. That's why the souls that are coming in are going to get a clean slate. We're going back to the original DNA and the original design template that was implanted in the earth, which is the same, because the earth is the soul. It's all the same, right? Anyone who incarnates here to play on the game board and accrue evolution, and the earth. So we know the earth is going to 9D. And that was always the end game. Because I've done some thinking about this last triad. I am currently pushing you into the last triad. I feel like a bloody training coach, you know, because if you're going to take someone to a competition and you know, you're working out in the gym and they have to benchmark, you know, 500 pounds when they get there, you take them to 550 or 6, so that when they get to the competition, it's a no-brainer. They benchmark 500. So we're pushing into the last triad of DNA, 10, 11, and 12, just to get you really, really in shape for the winter solstice. But that triad of DNA, I believe at this point, will never be anything other than a secret staircase and a hidden trapdoor in terms of access. It will never be seeded underfoot. Because if it was, it would be too easy to play the game. Souls would come in for a few incarnations and they would figure out, oh, you know, because by the time you get up to the 12th dimension, it's so formless and there's no movement. It's so immovable that you look back at the experiment in consciousness and say, how boring. How could I have ever been interested in that? Yeah. And if that became accessible, it would just be too easy to play the game board. And the whole point of the game board and the experiment, I keep calling it an experiment because I can't get used to the fact that it's ending. But the experiment in consciousness, we've played and played, and that's the whole point, is the evolution that you accrue. So if people could just slip out, you know, you couldn't keep the earth populated. It'd be too easy. So that's always going to be, you know, for those who really want to sit in meditation with their spiritual pursuits, to take it all the way, to use their self-inquiry, to invest the time. After multiple incarnations, that happens. We know this. So, but yeah, we've proven the experiment good, and now it can be seeded in other solar systems and other universes. We have proven that love triumphs over all, because it's all predicated on love. It's all made up of love, meaning unconditional love, meaning ninth dimensional energy. Yeah, that's the birthright of the experiment in consciousness. So no matter how many beings come in, how many races come in and say, well, I'm just going to take that for myself, or I'm going to control that, or I'm going to profit off of that. Doesn't matter. In the end, the DNA has the capability of rebooting itself and coming to fruition in enlightenment and eventually supreme enlightenment. Why don't, Elizabeth, why don't you open up your line and give us a reading on the DNA, because I can't do that, you can.
Sure, so shall I describe what is probably going to happen? Okay. So what I was seeing with Lucia, and it's been kind of ongoing for a while now, is that this opportunity is a burning away of all of the trauma that has built up over the 500,000 years of time that have gone by. But it's the trauma from the ancestors, it's personal trauma, and that on the other side of the solstice is this chance to be able to have the whole house cleaned for you by Mother Divine's light, and that this then will turn us into something new that hasn't existed before. It couldn't have happened before because we needed all the learning from the trauma over all of these eons. So now the learning has peaked, and the time is now to reset the DNA. And what that will be is a new species. And that it's women who bring in the new species every time on this planet. It's women who become a new species and then give birth to new species. And whether or not we have children or not, our feminine consciousness in these embodiments specifically coming together to allow this burst of light to move through consciousness through ourselves without any resistance. This levels up humanity into a new state that Victoria Moore and myself and others have been calling it Homo luminous, being a human of light. And I think that this is the moment we've all been waiting for. That's what I see. Is there any other details I could describe, Lucia?
Yeah, we talked about, remember because I said to you, I can't remember how the conversation went, but what, in terms of the DNA, what exactly has been accomplished? And that's when you said love. You said it better than I just said it. That, together we kind of said, oh yeah, love triumphs over. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, so the hypothesis of the experiment was, is there anything that love can't triumph over? And we got to have a taste of pretty much everything thrown at this experiment, trying to ruin it, trying to destroy it, trying to make it eat itself alive or give up all of its power. And the outcome now, 500,000 years, it's been proven now, it's a law of consciousness now, that love triumphs over everything. And it was the very first ancient template of wisdom that was programmed into DNA. And so now it becomes a law. When all of the evidence points at that, and that without that law, reality doesn't exist, then it becomes a law. So now it's a law of consciousness. Love triumphs over everything. Love, we are loved. We are creators being created in love. We're loving each other. We're working in this state of non-judgment. We're merging in love. This is going to finalize that law in consciousness for the universe, not just for our galaxy. But it's the greatest triumph, I believe, of all of our lifetimes.
Yeah, good. Good, thank you. And it's a done deal, yeah. That's the other thing. Why don't you mute yourself so you won't be coming on the screen, Elizabeth? It's a done deal. There's always resistance. That's the fun of it. There's always resistance. But this is a done deal. That's why the Syrians told me, don't worry. Don't worry about the physical. Just focus on your peace. Because the elite and what they're trying to do, and I'm looking into that, but with others. It doesn't matter. They're so outclassed. They're so clueless about the fact that this is the divine feminine and ninth dimensional energy. There's no way. So don't worry. And this will be an event. So the invitation on the table for all of us is to bring our best forward on the winter solstice, to sit in deep meditation at the time of the solstice or the hours before and after the solstice. I mean, this is going to be an event like no other. Souls are gathering already to go through. And it's not just people who have died and are trapped here because of their attachments, or souls that will be dying between now and the end of the year, because it's very clear that some souls don't want to go through this, what Nalini called an explosion of light. So when I look at the solstice, it's just this explosion of light. Now, we hear that and we assign a meaning to that, and we think, oh, this is going to be big. But every time we think that, it ends up being the most subtle experience we've ever had, because this is 9D. And 9D is very, very formless and very refined. So it may not be grandiose, but it will be momentous. And it's not just, I mean, it's souls who have already exited and are coming back to witness this, just to go through this birthing canal, just to walk through this portal of divine feminine heart 9D energy. It's souls that have been waiting for a long time in order to be reborn in the golden age, the Aquarian age, new earth, whatever you want to call it. So this is going to be a packed house. And as Elizabeth said, this is why we all came here. This and the years leading up to it. This is why we chose to be an embodiment. And everyone on the planet has chosen to be an embodiment, to experience this if they want to. So this is very good news, and I wanted to share that with you. And we'll talk more about it as we go forward.